But worth the wait. It speaks extensively as to the events happening and the events that have happened before and the ones that are likely to happen in Mulembe Nation, which then speaks about the entire nation. Still with me, Elias Sikulu, as well as Martin Ndati, and Professor who's joining us virtually, that is in Nakuru County. Gitile Naitule is as well here, and lots of feedback from the people of Kenya. I still would love to hear what then the resource, personal and both, regional resource is in terms of making sure that, of course, we are on the bargaining table of the nation. The Mulembe Nation is on the bargaining table. But before then, let's loop in Prof. Prof, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so Elias here argues that
Yes,
the Mulembe Nation lacks this, local grassroots kind of leadership. Perhaps that's the reason why they continue to be elusive when it comes to the question of unity, and cites or perhaps pinpoints the likes of Nchuri Ncheke as critical in terms of shaping, say, the Meru politics and, this positioning them in better spaces when it comes to the national stage. I don't know whether you would agree with that, but even as you respond to that, let's look at what some of the people have highlighted in the story on the question of certain individuals having been the biggest undoing of the Mulembe Nation. They cite the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, Papa Roma, and of course that is Moses Wetangula, perhaps the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Would you agree to what it is that these gentlemen are saying, especially what, again, Dr. Barak Muluka highlights that, Musalia Mudavadi had the chance, that he was accorded by the people, but he squandered what he considers this goodwill?
Let me say this. I think there is something we are glozing over here, all of us. There is a truth that is very difficult to hide when it comes to discussing Mulembe Nation leadership, the Kamba Nation, and even the Mijikenda in the coast. The fact is, these three communities, they simply are very comfortable following someone. They are not comfortable leading. You cannot lead, you cannot be president, you cannot compete for power in Kenya while behind someone else. You must go in front. And that is why now some of them are uncomfortable with Natembeya, because Natembeya is trying to break that. He's trying to be a leader. A leader is somebody who becomes our expression for our frustration. And that person is followed. So the truth of the matter is there will be no Natembeya if Mudavadi was leading. But he is busy following Dr. William Ruto. There will be no Natembeya if Wetangula were to be leading. He is busy following. When Raila left the scene, Kalonzo would have occupied the political space. He actually did not succeed occupying the political space. If you look at the population of the Mijikenda, it's exactly the size of population of the Kalenjins. But the Kalenjins are busy producing in leaders. We are not seeing anyone coming from that side. So until these three communities decided to be leaders, they will forever follow other Kenyans. And that is where the weakness lies. Now, you asked something about the Nchuri Ncheke. You see, Nchuri Ncheke is not just a council of elders. It was the government of Meru before the Muzungu came, and it continued because what happened is the British were very careful to destabilize an existing government. So what happens when the Muzungu came? You see, the Nchuri Ncheke is in three pieces. There is the Kiama, which is the General Assembly, which has anybody who has become a man qualifies. Then there is the Nchuri Ncheke now, which is the being selected people from 45 and above. They couldn't go to Nchuri Ncheke. But there is also Nchuri Mpingire that is now more sieving. You get more cream of the same in terms of leadership. And then there is what they call Nchuri Mpere. So there are stages. And then, there is also the judiciary in Meru, which is basically a court of jurisdiction, then a court of appeal, and then the equivalent of the Supreme Court now, which was basically populated more by women than men. So Meru also understanding Yami at the time the Muzungu was coming, because every generation you want to serve for 5 years, actually 15, before you can come and get married and become an elder. So it has carried, then you check now has carried that structure of government to today. So that is the respect. And then it was by qualification. You couldn't become a member of Bunjori if you are poor, for example. You have to be a responsible person, you have to have a family, you have to have your own wealth. So the process of selecting who becomes the member, who doesn't, it is what has maintained that aura that one of the panelists was talking about. So what I want to say this, and really very forcibly so, is that there is a weakness in the entire country about producing good leaders, not just the Luyas, not anybody, because I mean even in central Kenya, the whole country actually, for 60 years, they have come closest to a good leader only Kibaki. All the others have been politicians. And that is why next election, the voters are going to look for an only politician to lead Kenya. Because you see, politicians lack a very critical ingredient of leadership. They lack shame. Politicians have no shame. They will lie looking at you with a straight face. They have no empathy. They will not empathize with you. They will not feel your pain. Okay, and they have demonstrated this now for 61 years. So people are looking for 2027 to make a clean break. So the weakness in leadership is not with the Mulembe nation alone. It's a national one. It's basically cutting across the country. We have been deteriorating. We are not able to produce a Mandela. We can't produce a Nyerere. We can't produce Captain Sankara or Ibrahim Traore or Amika Kaburo. We are just producing the equivalent of normal criminals. We give them power. They rob us. Otherwise, they would be robbing in banks if we did not give them the power. That is the problem. It is national. And we need to look at it as a national problem. But that said, that the Luyas need to lead the country. Because arguably, they are either right now the majority or second to the majority. But as long as they continue following Raila Odinga, as they continue following William Ruto, as they continue following Wamunyororo or whatever, they won't be able to lead the country. They must go in front. Because when you go in front, is when you can lead. And it is not just the Luya, it's the Luyas, the Kambas, and the coastal people.
All right. Martin, I come to you, and you know, I don't know whether I should talk about the Luya leaders that we currently have or the Luya politicians. You want to, all right. Okay.
So thank you so much, Professor. I haven't met you, but I can read your mind. What I agree with you is that we have a problem nationally, not just a Luya. And that's why I was looking at it from a different dimension. Let's stop this idea of talking and blaming people who we elect for 5 years and we expect them to do miracles. It is not possible. Luya, the Luya, that's number one. Number two, someone is talking of Luya, Natembeya, and all these kind of things that are happening, are going on today. If I were Natembeya's advisor, I think I would advise him, honestly, to revisit how, you know, politics was played from independence into the second president's regime, and how the likes of the late Wamala came in, the Masinde Muliros, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Now, and they actually, these people, the kind of politics that was played by then was that of exclusion.
Okay.
They actually excluded our community, particularly the Bukusu of Bungoma.
Okay.
Because people liked, we were youth by that time. We loved, in fact, we loved hearing those guys speaking nice English. And we could say, let them go to Nairobi and speak English, even if they don't do anything for us.
Okay.
Now, Tembea is taking the people of Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, and the Western region again back to the era of opposition.
Hold it. I want us to take this.
Let me just
from
finish,
the people,
Linda, just 2 minutes.
Okay. Make it less. Make it one.
Okay. So the Luhya nation is a critical population come 2027.
Okay.
You look at the population of Nairobi, I think the Luhyas form roughly around 38%, 38 to 40% of the population of Nairobi. Nakuru, sizable population, 19%, and something like that. So the issue is, you look at even the figures. My friend here talked about, tried to say something about the figures. But I'll be a little specific. Currently, the projection is that the Luhyas will be at 6.34, while those are the 5 counties of Western Kenya. And then the 5 or 6 counties of Central Kenya are at 6.6, just around there. So you can see the difference is narrowing. And as to why even the 2019 census results never came out, I don't know.
Okay.
But what I know is going by 2009 elections, the Luhya population was roughly around 17% of the entire of the national population, going by the 2009 census. So, and you see, people marry every day in Luhyaland.
Okay.
They get children every day. We expect by 2027 there will be a shock.
And that these people will be eligible to
one or two
but anyway, interesting views. But now that, I would have loved for us to run away from discussing individuals, but it looks like we can't run away from that, especially when we're looking at Musalia Mudavadi. I was checking a clip this evening of a gentleman who speaks of 2 individuals that have been the greatest undoing of the Mulembe nation, maybe as at now, and they cite, or perhaps they speak of Musalia Mudavadi as well as Moses Wetangula. But then also, you hear Prof talking about Natembeya, and of course a counter from Elias here. And the people who are watching as well are saying, you're overrating Natembeya, and it may surprise you to see him lose his seat. He is a Bukusu, he cannot command non-Bukusus. And there is Wetangula, whom we would always think has lost grip of Bukusu vote, only for him to deliver over 60%. Another one says, Natembeya is only commanding Trans Nzoia. Here in Busia, we don't recognize this kingpin conversation. Those are just fighting for their stomachs, not Luhyas. Then he talks about the Mudia Warriors, the Amos Weko, the Babu Namwamba, Ojamong. They cannot show anything tangible that came out of that kind of leadership. Another one goes ahead to say, why is it that this particular region has no kingpin so far? The only time they came close to choosing or to having one is during the late Kijana Wamalwa's time. What are some of the challenges that has contributed or have contributed to this kind of disunity that we witness in Western Kenya, such that even the leaders that they have are not helpful to them at all? I know it's quite something.
Our community is a very interesting.
Is there a way these guys can... I want to interject and they are not giving me an opportunity.
You have our Tangula. Now, those are the kingpins. But you see, you don't have any other community which is having 2 kingpins. It's only in Mount Kenya now that there is the emergence of Rigiji and Uhuru is still there.
Okay.
Uhuru doesn't want to exit, so there is a bit of confusion around it. But by and large, when you look at the history of Musalia and Wetangula, how did they get into politics? You know, that will inform the disconnect between them and the masses.
Okay.
Yeah, Musalia inherited the father's seat. When the father passed away in 1989, he was literally dragged into politics, very reluctantly. And he went in a by-election and opposed after Kibisu had been twisted, cajoled, and prevailed upon not to run.
Right.
Then Musalia came in, Wetangula came in through nomination on Kanu. So even now posturing like, you know, Ford was part of the resistance movement, the pressure group. So Wetangula cannot really be the face of the Ford movement. But you know, he has outmaneuvered all those who were in Ford,
Right.
and ultimately took over the leadership of Ford, Kenya. Then you have Musalia, who, like now, you know, Musalia appears in the village when there's a function. He flies in, then he'll do whatever function he's supposed to do, and literally run away. So how do you connect emotionally with the people? You know, he's out there. There are even times we've had, the last time the president was in Western, Musalia was not there. And that is supposed to be one of the kingpins. Now you have Farouk Kibet, the PA to the president. He's literally the prefect all over the place now, presiding over Harambes and parading everybody else apart from the two. So is that also another kingpin?
Of Western.
Of Western.
Generally.
And from my reading of politics, I think President Ruto would want, when he finishes 2027, if he wins, he will retire the two.
Is it?
You can clearly see the reading.
Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula will be retired.
He will be retired. Yeah, you see, they played around with Musalia's mind, and Musalia goofed by dissolving his party. At least Wetangula stuck on the party, and that gives him some room for maneuver. They can't now push him out of that seat. But you know, this one made a mistake. He has no party. How do you go for negotiations without a party? So that creates quite a bit of...
And that brings me to this particular question, yes. That the argument, and you have heard some of the gentlemen highlight the fact that, you know, the interests of the region will often be sidelined post the election. So in this case, would we say it is the interest of the region or perhaps the faces of this particular region? Because if...
You know, the agreement they negotiated, I said it.
This 70%?
Yeah, no, the whole thing was a sham.
Okay.
And I knew they will not, Ruto was not going to keep his bargain. He knew these guys... Is it Ruto that
did not keep his bargain, or these two gentlemen that did not deliver the 70%?
Wetangula is a lawyer of long standing.
Okay.
He didn't see that they were being duped.
Okay.
Because they could have clearly known that, you know, if you are asking for everything you're asking and the guy is telling you yes, you clearly know that he's cheating you.
Okay.
Why didn't he resist and tell them that, gentlemen, some of these things will not be able to do? But because he knew that he wanted their support. Everything they said, he agreed to. One, if he was sincere in whatever discussions they were having, the starting point would have been they should not have allowed UDA to run candidates in Western Kenya. They should have left Ford Kenya and ANC to run candidates in under Kenya Kwanza, but in Western Kenya. Okay. That did not happen. Two, they should have agreed to share seats in Nairobi here, because you have, the way my brother here said, there is a very heavy Luhya presence in Nairobi here, and there are constituencies which are predominantly Luhya. Why didn't they allow them to take those constituencies?
There was, by the way, the Luo MPs in Nairobi take advantage of the Luhya.
I know, I have all those numbers. So, you see, they never negotiated a proper deal for Nairobi. They never negotiated a good deal for themselves, even in the village. And that's what you saw Rikiji was saying.
Right.
The guys only negotiated for their 2 seats.
Okay.
So, starting even from the 30% at cabinet, It's not there. I saw Lusaka is trying to justify that they should not have been given because they did not deliver 70%.
Right.
But how many, when they formed cabinet, the only slot that was given to the Luhya nation was Minister of Health. And then Chigai is not even CS. She is an advisor at cabinet level.
Right.
So 2 out of 22 is 10%. So that is where the rain started beating these two guys. 3, when you come to the infrastructure, they talked about 1,000 kilometers of tarmac in Western Kenya. 3 years down the line, they have not done a single kilometer.
Okay, this is laughing.
Now, yeah, it's 3 years, and you know, that's what Osot was asking. The president talks about these things, but they are not in the budget. So if we are doing the third budget, and none of those programs is in the budget, how are you going to actualize? How are they going to build 1,000 kilometers in 2 years when they have not been able to do a single kilometer?
Would they be lucky under the broad-based government? Because then we have talked about the right of Raila Odinga appearing as though he is a leader of the Luhya.
As Andate speaks, I'm wondering whether the housing project, for example, was factored. The money was factored in the budget.
Okay.
Now, I'm also wondering, is it the final program or project that the government is undertaking in the country in all the 47 counties at the same time? Maybe something more is coming.
Right.
I don't know. That's what
Something more like
now,
what?
Courtesy of the
you have
broad-based government or
talked
courtesy
about
of what?
roads.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm just, the agreement was very specific, that they will be given 1,000 kilometers.
You are in politics.
Yeah.
And you can differentiate between politics, where we are looking at personality, charisma, we are looking at resources, we are looking at the ability to mobilize. And some of these people appear like they are not so here and there all the time, but very dangerous. In fact, some of the best leaders actually are the quiet fellows, the Musalia type. Don't be surprised, because since independence, look at even the presidents we have. The first president of Kenya was an opportunist. The government was supposed to have been formed by Oginga Odinga
Jaramogi.
and Masina Muliro. One of them will be president and another one vice president. But then these guys said, let's wait until our colleagues come out from cell before we form our government. Now, when Kenyatta came out, actually, sympathy and all this and that. So he took the presidency with ease. The second president was such a quiet person that even people thought that this guy was going to be removed, because I've been in this country, I think, long enough. You come after me in school and in college. Now, so the guy was so quiet. They thought 1 year was just enough to remove Moi. He actually ruled this country for 24 years. Look at Kibaki. Just someone, Odinga emerges and says, Kibaki tosha, without struggle.
Are you telling us that Musalia Mudavadi
watch the likes of Musalia Mudavadi after President Ruto?
Okay, hold it right there. Prof, are you there?
Yes.
You can hear
I'm there and I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear the discussion.
Yes. Have you heard what the gentlemen are arguing?
I can hear the discussion.
I mean,
Yes.
You want to weigh in or you want me to come with a question?
There's one. Yes, I want to comment on one argument one of the panelists has made.
Yes.
And I can say that he really doesn't understand how Kenya is working. You see, the Natembe's argument is that you can't have someone else negotiating for you. So if the Luhyas were to be together in an election, they would either be number 1 or number 2. And then the Luhya will go and negotiate with the other Kenyans for the Luhyas. So the idea of that, the separation, I mean, the Mbukuzu one side and the rest of the Luhyas on the other is what is making Luhyas small. They are not small. They need to bridge that thing up. The other one I realize the panelists that not understand is Mount Kenya has never had a kingpin and it will never have a kingpin. The Mount Kenya don't follow leaders. The leaders follow them. Gachagua was never anything in Mount Kenya until he was impeached. And when he was impeached, people have welcomed him. They have welcomed him because he is one of them, but not because he is leading them. If Gachagua, for example, tomorrow chooses to support or to run for president, let's say, they will simply ignore him and they vote for somebody who they think is more likely to deliver, and that is how they voted for Ruto, and they ignored Uhuru Kenyatta because Ruto sold himself very effectively to them. So Mount Kenya doesn't follow leaders. It has never had, even Kibaki never became a kingpin. As we speak, you can't say Uhuru is a kingpin or Gachagua. So you need to understand that the country, the culture of the country has a very strong bearing on how their leaders behave. And it is that thing that we are not understanding. You see, in Western Kenya, Natembe is insisting on total unity. And you can see President Ruto understands this very much. He is trying to divide the mountain by going to Meru all the time, trying to think he can get the Meru, of course, out of the rest of the Mount Kenya, which I wish him luck, because you see, the Mount Kenya is not together politically. If it were together politically, then it's easy to divide. It is together socio-culturally. You cannot divide a socio-cultural union through political means. But they are trying, and I wish them well, because, I mean, both the deputy president and the president, they are making very many trips over there. Even tomorrow, they will still be in the Mount Kenya. And they are bringing a lot of Ngundes. And in our meeting, I told them they should should continue getting all those goodies because they will make their decision when the time matters. I think people like Natembeya, Sifuna, Kalevu Amisi, they want the Luyas to make decisions when it matters to them. They are not trying to take Luya to the opposition. And there is nothing wrong with being in opposition. Raila has always been in opposition, but he negotiates and gets a lot of good days. Except when he negotiated like he has negotiated in the Brony-based government, how many Luyas are getting those energy projects that the Minister for Energy was telling in Parliament, and Turumbone Kalole was very annoyed by the fellow because he said he has borrowed all this and the project are all in Nyanza, in Iluo Nyanza. So I think you need to listen to the emerging Luya leadership, because for me, people like Sifuna, Natembeya, even these guys can lead this country. Sifuna is just happened to be very young, but trust me, you listen to him, he is extremely national. He has the voice. So what the Luyas have to learn to do is to learn to support one of them. Now, I want to quickly to tell you that, I don't know whether I should say that because it's going to cause a lot of problem. There is a cultural weakness the Luyas have. I believe even the Meros have. I don't know about the other people, but I can talk about the Luyas and the Meros on this one. When Mundavani defected from ODM in 2013, I was having a drink at the Rift Valley Sports Club with one of the senior professors from Luyaland. And I told them the country hasn't gotten a president because I knew Kibaki was trying. Kibaki was shocked by 2007, so we were trying to get an on Kikuyu. He told me, no, this won't happen because in our community we suffer from primitive jealousy. So he went ahead to tell me how the primitive jealousy looks like. He said, he was an animal scientist. He said when a Kikuyu buys a cow, his neighbor starts to plant Napier grass because he knows the market for the grass has come close. That is called a symbiotic relationship, they will both benefit. But he said when a Luya buys a cow, his neighbor will sell the only family goat to buy poison to kill the cow so both of them can be poor. Now, I said that can also apply to the Meros because I see them behaving just almost like that. Now, what I'm trying to say here, how many voted in Mundavandi get? So the professor was right. Okay, they voted instead for all the other people They did vote for Mundavandi. You need to overcome the primitive jealousy. Okay, just as much as also us in the Mount Kenya, we also need to overcome. The Kikuyus overcome that a long time ago. But I can tell you the Meros are like the Luyas. They are struggling with that primitive jealousy.
Fair enough.
That is the primary weakness of the Luya community.
Yes, and that's a weakness that we keep talking about until the Luya community has been labeled a community that has this elusive element of unity. So in the run-up to the 2027 election, if at all this young leadership that Prof speaks about, or if at all, I mean, the likes of Musalia Mudavadi were to hold any form of water, how should they go about to ensure that, they address the concerns that go ahead to promote inclusive leadership in Western Kenya, or perhaps address the things that actually deter them from achieving inclusive leadership?
As we move closer to 2027, although there is a petition in court.
Yes.
You remember what we were discussing?
Yes, the other time. On whether it is in 2027 and even the IEBC formation. Yes.
Yeah, so as we move closer, the regime in power will be held to account. It will be the promises versus the deliveries. And the people are very conscious about what was promised vis-a-vis what has been delivered. Yeah, so it will be the Ruto team and the anti-Ruto team. Musalia and Wetangula have clearly indicated that they are sticking with Ruto up to 2032.
Right.
Yeah, so then they'll stick on that bandwagon. Then we'll have the other anti-Ruto team. And ultimately, the two formations will come out, each one of them with the issues. But there is also the one thing which we seem to be ignoring is the youth vote, which is not largely tribal. Yeah. We are...
it has Meru, it has Gema.
It has everybody. You have these kids whose mothers are not... you have parents who are coming from different communities.
Right.
You have kids who have grown up in the cities here. They have gone to school with different people from different communities. Yeah. So they don't think tribe. Their tribe is common issues. And that is going to, because that block is going to come out and register in a big way. And they will also vote. So that is one demographic that we seem not to be factoring in. We are just still preoccupied with the mobilization along the traditional mobilization, where you have the Ruto team is looking at reenacting 2007, where you have the Pentagon and the Kingpins.
Right.
You have the other team trying to reenact 2002, yet we are going to 2027. So that is one demographic that we really need to look at. How many of them are going to register? Okay. How are we going to message to them? How do we emotionally reach out to them? Because their issues are not, the way they want the country governed is totally different from the way we want the country governed.
Yeah.
And then the levels of awareness, their levels of awareness are quite high. So those are some of the things we need to look at as we look at the political landscape. Yeah.
All right, and talking about the political landscape, I come back to you.
Maybe just to add something on that. I think the question of youth awareness may be a little misplaced. These youth that we have currently need to be advised. They need to be guided. So we can't, this notion that, these are tribalists, I don't buy it. Because we walk in the villages, we hear what they say. When you are here in Nairobi, the youth of Nairobi and the way they respond to issues of governance is totally different from the village youth.
Yeah.
So the village youth is still that original youth from some community.
Was inclined
to some community. So this issue of, actually many people are cheated to think, and they will be so shocked that when the election comes, what they will be expecting will be the opposite.
Okay.
That assumption, to me, I don't buy it.
All right.
Now, as to, let's be focused on this Mulembe people.
All right.
The Mulembe people, you know, the word Mulembe is peace. The Mulembe people are a peaceful people right from independence. Number two, and therefore they have contributed to broker some kind of moderation when certain extremes have actually hit us as a nation.
Okay.
Now, the other issue is about the Mulembe nation again, why we are so keen on this is that our people are the production lot. They are the production lot everywhere in the nation. You go to Nyeri, you go to industrial area here in Nairobi, who are the middle class to the low class and middle class.
Okay.
Most of them are actually Luyas. You go to the farms of the rich, most of the farm managers are actually Luyas and maybe Luos and Kamba. The housemates, the house managers, actually, these days they are called house managers. They are from these communities I'm actually pointing out, and they trust Luyas more. Now, what we are working on currently, let nobody say that Luyas have no leadership. So someone has to emerge from somewhere to lead. We have leaders. But we mistake politics for leadership.
Okay.
So we want a leader who will speak at the top of his voice with a very sweet language to be able to define, to take him as a serious leader. That is where we
What then is leadership
now,
in this case?
Currently, what is happening is that there's a move initiated quietly by the top leaders. Recently, we had a forum at Kibabi University. And it brought, that forum actually brought all in Bungoma County. It brought leaders, the grassroots leaders, the community leaders, the political leaders, MCS, MPs, and everybody, led by Speaker Wetangula. And they were discussing.
From a section of the Luyan.
Let me now.
Yeah, you know,
that is also
charity begins at home.
Yeah, you know,
now this is Bungoma.
You know, I understand.
And put themselves in a cocoon
Now,
and say as Bukusus.
Now,
you know,
that is what Wamalo never did that.
Now,
and that's why Wamalo got accepted across the Luyas, and that's why without even resources, Wamalo was able to sweep the entire Luya vote.
Now,
right.
there is
in 2002. He never confined himself into a cocoon and said at me I'm now the tribal leader of the Bukusus.
He argues that charity
actually,
begins at home.
Yeah, he was all over, you know.
Begins at home.
Okay.
For us to talk about the unity of a nation,
It must be
a region must unite.
Okay.
The Kikuyus must unite, the Luyas must unite,
the sub-tribes
Kambas
of
must,
the Luya.
Yes, then we come together. For us in Western, let Vihiga people unite as
But you have seen this has not worked over the years.
That is working. It is working. This time
the elusive Mulembe.
What I have seen today is like, you know, like the other day there was a forum for Wazes, elders, in a place in Bumula. Those are some of the initiatives. Now, it may appear like those forums are anti-establishment, anti-so-and-so. But to me, I look at it different. The issues being raised are the issues affecting the common person.
Okay.
Lastly, when you talk of, like Ososi is talking of, we want our fair share. So he knows better.
And I want to question that.
Yes. Now, what is this fair share?
Right.
Now, what is this fairness? Well, that's inclusivity. Now, for the first time in the history of this nation, to be very honest, you find one project. Let's pick the markets.
Right.
Markets are being built in Kwale, and at the same time, markets are being built in Turkana.
Okay.
Markets are being built in Homa Bay.
Right.
Markets are being built in Lamu, in Nyeri.
So there's a fair share across the...
There is a fair across national resources. Actually, in this particular case,
are being shared.
I will not agree to that kind of lie.
Okay.
You know, these are people who have survived in politics because of lying to the people. We cannot continue lying. Give respect. Give Mtu akifanya mazuri sema amefanya.
Okay.
Kesho atafanya ingine.
So the current government, according to you,
So to you, the MOU is about 30%.
And
The question, let me talk about the 30%.
Signed by the same principles whom you are
Now, the
defending very
The
strongly.
30%.
Gentlemen, when you're talking about that, I hope you can address this in this manner.
Yes.
Because then you need to understand that when we're talking about a certain region delivering a certain, percentage, what happens to those that are regions that really do not enjoy
Now,
the interest of numbers?
you are right.
What happens to those ones?
You
If
are
it's
right.
going to be about you get this because you delivered this.
You are right. Now, when you are signing an agreement, that is a paper, and you convert some idea onto the paper.
Okay.
A whole intellectual like you calls an agreement a paper.
Now,
You come to a national TV station to call an agreement
Some of
a paper.
these agreements are binding
It's a
in most
document.
cases.
Isn't an agreement a document?
It is supposed to be binding.
Not just
Now,
a paper, it is an agreement.
It's documenting an agreement, documenting an MOU, which is
Like-
critical.
Those are serious documents.
Now,
All right. As we sum it up, gentlemen.
Anybody offended can go to court. But
not
in
about
my
going to court.
in my view, honestly speaking, it's a question of inclusivity. The way it's coming out from Linda. It's a question of inclusivity.
Right.
Here, you are president.
Right.
Then you realize you actually signed one or two agreements. And then you are the president. And now everybody, the whole Kenya, 47 counties, they are on you. What do? So you have to use some...
You have to trash the agreement that you had.
Some God-given wisdom and direction.
All right, well said. Gentlemen, I'll give you 30 seconds to sum it up, because I know this conversation can, we can never get it to, levels where we say that we are done and dusted with this. We continue having the conversation until 2027 and beyond. Professor, if you can hear me, this talk of delivering this so that you can get this, does it really hold any form of water? These agreements, should the politicians really go by them as we sum it up?
Those agreements are completely useless. They're anti-Kenya, they're anti-nationalistic, they're anti-patriotic. What the country needs is a government that delivers to all of us.
Well said, Prof. 30 seconds, perhaps even 15. Thank you so much for that. Asante sana. Gentlemen, back to you on the 30 seconds. If not the Mulembe politics, then basically the politics of the nation.
We were talking about Mulembe nation.
All right, so
we were not talking about the politics.
Fair enough.
True.
So the issues that we are discussing about the Mulembe nation, we can't say that now, even when you come and get a job here, you sign a contract.
An agreement, yes.
And there are deliverables.
And they're binding.
Timelines, and they are binding. So you can't reach the studio here and start giving excuses, So it's the same thing. If they signed a contract, they have not come back to our people to tell them why they have not been able to deliver. You need to go back to the people and tell them, I promised 1,000 kilometers.
Right.
I have done 200. I promised 30%. I have given you guys 20%. I promised to revive the factories. I didn't say I would sell them to the Asians. Those are the issues. You go
and the factories, you people have extremely run away from talking that.
You go to the people and explain and tell them, even when you are negotiating for dowry, if you go for the discussions, they can tell you, okay, you will pay 20 cows. Then you reach a stage, you tell them, I had anticipated that I'll manage this, but the things have changed. So I can only manage 10, so they'll tell you, okay, instead of 10, we'll take this 10, but kindly look for another 5.
Right.
They have not done that. You see, there must be sincerity from both parties.
And that could cost them.
It is going to cost them.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because the people want an explanation why this has not happened.
It is
all right. Your 30 seconds.
It's a matter of time.
Okay.
What we normally say, the test of time. Time will tell. And it's just a few months away, 1 or 2 years. So in those 2 years, at the rate I'm seeing some things move, I think some people are likely to say, I think I should have stuck.
I should have stuck from here. I shouldn't have defected.
A pregnancy normally takes 9 months.
Things are going.
If you do it earlier, it will be an abortion.
And we will come back here with Andati.
I can guarantee you that I will provide the set for that.
Let's say a year from now.
Okay.
And then we will revisit the same.
Yes.
All right.
And then say, now, where are we?
If you can carry
Are we
out,
guaranteeing
miracles, that would
a second term, or it was a one-term affair? Gentlemen, thank you so much. We have to close here.
You know, at times when I look at what is happening in this nation, I remember the professor of politics. And there's a lot I learned during that era.
That is President Tawe.
And I think
as we close,
the people forget very easily.
Okay.
But we just need to play our cards well.
All right.
Unite our community. And indeed, we are determined
Asante.
to unite our community.
All right. All the best in that quest.
We can be a force. We are a sleeping giant.
Okay.
The Luhya community.
Elias Sikulu, former Bungoma senatorial candidate. Asante sana for the great insights. Martin Ndati, political analyst, as well as professor of management and leadership, none other than Professor Gitili Naituli. Gentlemen, thank you so much, and all the best in that quest of uniting the Mulembe nation. All right.